I normally have a rule on, well, two. Well, one, it involves two things. That when I cover things, do podcasts, do episode reviews, do whatever, and that rule is to not have two things be involved in the discussion of said thing because it normally never leads to any fun discussions. I have very bad time thinking that I can discuss this episode without discussing at least one, if not both.
Yeah, especially if it's a Nightcrawler episode.
And it is not even just that, but the sheer illiteracy of people who think they are fans of this character.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, they just like a guy who teleports and don't know anything else about him. Like, at fucking all. At fucking all. And I could tell by the sheer response to this episode that nobody actually gives two fucks about the core characteristics of this character.
Oh, of course not.
And it's ridiculous. X-Men are not interesting without characters like this. At all. If no one had any form of difference of opinion, it's not an interesting topic.
And not just that, but it's not even that like everything is so black and white in the case of the story of this episode. Everything is a lot more complicated and nuanced.
It is. First, there are some things where they kind of Man of Steel Liliana to a degree. She kind of Paw Kenned herself into a tornado in the beginning of this episode. And I wish they would have had her die in a different way.
Yeah.
You don't show her teleporting people and then watch her wait as she gets blasted. Just to essentially do the Paw Kent hand to Colossus to go, no, son, let the tornado take me. So we have the Acolytes of Magneto. I don't know if this is an actual group in comics, but it's a ragtag of a lot of mutants that I've not heard of, outside of Exodus, kind of. And Colossus, obviously. And they bring us to kidnapping Graydon Creed to hold him hostage and basically, in one form or another, demand reparations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, it's hard to talk about this without being political. It's one of those things where you don't know people's true stances until you get to the nuts and bolts of things, and this is one of the episodes where they actually got into the nuts and bolts of it, and it's one of the things that, again, I'm not trying to be super negative, it really pisses me off that people don't watch X-Men for the X-Men. They watch X-Men to watch two animated characters shoot laser beams at each other. When that is not at the core of what X-Men is about.
Nope.
It's not. And the amount of complaints I saw online about how Nightcrawler is too religious.
That's like saying Charmander is too fiery.
That's like, I love these McDonald's fries. I wish they were less salty. Sir, then you don't like McDonald's fries. You like the concept of fries, but you don't like McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't like getting religious on things. I'm a person that was raised by an incredibly Irish Catholic family. That's a about, on some standards, about as Irish as, or about as Catholic as you can get. My grandma prayed the rosary every morning, and she prayed it, continued on it, even when she was dementia stricken before she died in her 90s. And would give us grandkids extreme amounts of shit if you did not know how to pray said rosary, and you learned it. And I was raised confirmed Catholic, and then eventually went Baptist because there was certain things, not in all essences of it, just certain ways about extra tidbits of the Catholic religion that I did not like. And I don't think I need to get into that. But it's a lot of things around confession in certain ways about how you're putting extra steps to a person to talk to God that I don't think you need to put there. And if any of you are a fan of Nightcrawler as a character, and you are upset that one of, if not the most devout Christians in all of comics is a Christian, take out your Nightcrawler fan card and rip it in a million pieces. Because you actually don't like this character, you just think it's cool that he bamfs. I'm sorry, you don't truly like what this character is about. He is a part of one of the most dysfunctional families in all of comic books. And the fact that he, who is the most ironic, one of the most ironic X-Men characters of all, is a devout Catholic and literally looks like a devil. You're not understanding the purpose of why this character was created.
Of course not.
No. And when it gets down to it, now, is Graydon Creed a good person?
Nope.
No.
Not even a little bit.
But there always needs to be coming these discussions about nature versus nurture. Are you going to have a high chance of becoming a good person when your parents are Sabretooth and Mystique and you're a human? No, that's not going to happen. These same arguments come up every time, whether it's Abby in The Last of Us or it's Gabby in Attack on Titan. You are perfectly fine with the person doing the things if they're on your team, but if that same person is on the other person's team and does something to you for the same reasons you did it that way, then they're a bad person and they should die. When realistically, if you are watching the show and you were raised up from the other person's point of view, you would think the other people are evil. That's the point of these characters. That it's the exact same character on the other end of the opposing line. Now, Nightcrawler gets into that very thing in this episode. Graydon had an unbelievably shitty childhood. He just wanted to get up and get powers so his parents would stop beating him. He was raised by two mutants, and he had the unfortunality of being born as a pure human with no powers. And he asked, and all Nightcrawler does in this to get people to think that he's too much of a Christian is to ask the question, do you actually hate mutants, or do you hate the two of them that abused you your entire childhood, and that makes you think that everyone's like that? Which is the most honest way to frame this. And people immediately turn on Colossus because he doesn't right away just cast Graydon Creed off because Nightcrawler made a great point. He got to be the soulless asshole that he is because he was raised by two of the most soulless assholes at this point in time in comics, Mystique and Sabretooth.
Yep, pretty much.
But no, we can't let that part go and try and figure out and say, maybe there needs to be some actual understanding to where this guy, although he is a heartless asshole and likely is never going to change, did it for a reason that a lot of you hate all humans. But we're not allowed to have that discussion.
And that's why I find this to be, at least so far, because we're almost caught up, but so far I think this is the best episode of the season because, like, it just goes in on these themes and not just like, oh, he's a human and he hates mutants, so that's it. That's the end of it. Like, no. It doesn't excuse his actions.
No.
Like, his upbringing doesn't excuse his actions. It just explains his motivations.
And it explains that in the right part of growing up, that you can be raised to be this way, just like a lot of you that are the acolytes of Magneto were like, no, all humans are evil because that one did an unbelievably horrible thing. Does that mean that all of them should be hated and all that? No, but the second that gets brought up, all the acolytes want to crucify Colossus because he hesitated. When we find out at the end of this episode that if they would have let him speak, he didn't forgive him. And he would not have cleared him. But before that could be said, we have to go, you didn't immediately think that the person we hate needs to be killed, crucified, and made an example of. Therefore, you're not a part of the cause. Which I'd hate to say is a little too reminiscent of a lot of the ways most of this world thinks now, which is terrifying.
Yeah, like, if you're not immediately on my side 100%, you're the enemy.
And if you don't think it's okay to possibly kill the person that doesn't agree with you, you're then just as bad as they are. If that is your immediate response, you need to be looking at things. Because if you're ready to ditch your own kind because they don't want to outright murder anyone who doesn't agree with them, whether this be in a fictional story or realistic, pardon me saying this right now, you need to examine how you think. That is not okay. I don't care what side of whatever line, religious or political, you sit on. You should not immediately think anyone who disagrees with me needs to die. That is wrong. And if a cartoon about a religious devil-looking mutant makes you go, yeah, I don't agree with them because that's not something that would realistically happen, then you need to look outside of your own sphere of influence of 5 feet. Because it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It happens a lot more than you would think, and it's good that it's happening. Because this world would not be what it is if we didn't have the people that think we need to think differently about situations. Otherwise, we're going to be at all-out odds. And that's why I love Nightcrawler as a character, because he's willing to have those conversations because he grew up differently than everyone else. Not because he looks cool and he teleports. And this also goes to another thing of every person I've seen watch this season goes, this season sucks. Do you know the only difference that's been in this season? It's not been as heavy on action. But this is one of the most true to X-Men adaptations of a single run of anything that I've ever seen be put to a television.
Oh yeah. And it's not like there's been like no action, but
no.
This actually feels more like the, I know it's a bit overused to say this, but like it feels the most like a soap opera but with superheroes.
As it should. And guess what? Not all superheroes need to be all action all the time. If you think the best moments of superheroes, the only reason they can be good is when they're banging basically the two animated figures against each other, you're missing most of what makes superheroes great.
Perfect example of that is in this episode. I was more locked in during the trial than I was during Bishop and Polaris's "let's destroy the inhibitor tower" scene.
I was like, cool, you guys do that. I don't need screen time dedicated to it. You told me you were going to do it. It's going to blow up. You're going to come in. I don't want a second of screen time dedicated to it. And I still admit, Polaris is one of my favorite characters in this entire season. And again, my God, I don't know how they make an animated character that attractive by covering her entire body. My fucking God, someone on this season really likes Polaris. And I applaud you, sir, because my goodness, she's attractive.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have taken that their trip there, Graydon Creed being arrested, and all that taking up a minute and a half of this entire season, and of this episode, and taking the rest of it being Exodus arguing with Nightcrawler, not even fighting. Didn't need the fighting. It could have just been them yelling at each other in front of the rest of the members of the Acolytes. And it's the best writing they've had the entire season. But that's for liking characters for what their characters are about. We just watched Spider-Man Brand New Day. The best scene in the entire thing is the ending with Jean and Peter.
Yep.
And there's not a lick of action in it. One of my favorite scenes in all of comics, and there's two versions of it. Oh man, I can't remember what her name is. What is the name of the suicidal girl that Superman helps?
Oh, I forget her name, but like, it's from All Star Superman.
It is. And you have that version where it's just like the doctor was actually late. It's not that he doesn't care about you. He was actually held up. You have that same exact thing happen again, but in Marvel with Deadpool, where he takes her around, jokes all this. He's just like, I can't help you. And he drops her off at a hospital to get psychiatric help. No action in either of them. And it's two of the best moments that I love in comic books. We need to stop thinking that comic books and superheroes are only good when it's two things with powers banging up against each other.
Here's one more, kind of in that similar vein, but from the Justice League Unlimited.
Ace and Batman?
Yep.
Might be one of, if not my favorite Batman moments of all time. She literally just asks him to hold her hand until she dies. And it's one of the best, if not the best moment in the entire show.
Mm-hmm.
And most of that entire episode has no action in it. It's Terry talking to Bruce in the future, and then Amanda Waller telling him about a flashback where they fought the Royal Flush Gang. And it's the best storytelling there is. Because if you can't write good dialogue to bring me to the moments where these fights are, I don't give two shits about these fights. At all. They're meaningless. There's no point of conflict unless there's some actual reasonable rationality upon what brought you to that conflict. And we need to start being more okay with this, because guess what? More intelligent writers are getting the hold of these properties, and for good reason.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're getting stuff like this, and this is more of what I want. And this is more of what you should want too, because it'll make you a better person to actually have some things that you may or may not disagree with put in front of you.
Exactly.
That's the point of living as a human being challenged in your ways of thinking and adapting and becoming a better person, whether it be one way or the other. I don't mean to get preachy, but my goodness, we need to stop with complaining every second there's not just lasers being shot across the screen when you're watching a show involving superheroes.
Yeah, because I thought that, like, I thought that audiences are getting tired of mediocrity. This is giving you more substance, and people are still complaining.
Yeah,
like, what the
they
fuck?
still are, because they don't know what mediocrity is. They just know they want something, but they act. That's the biggest problem. And I know this is getting long in the wind here. They don't know what they want, but they claim to know what they don't want.
This.
Every time something comes up, well, that wasn't exactly how I would have done it, so that's bad. Well, how would you have done it? I don't know. Don't bring in that argument if you don't have a substantive answer to bring back. Like, you're allowed to hate something. You're allowed to not like something. Have a reason why and have it not be because it wasn't what I would have done. There's plenty of things I've watched where it wouldn't have been how I would have done, and I'm thank to God they wouldn't have done it how I would have done because it was better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is getting on to be damn near as long as the episode. All right. By the way, the episode ends with X-Force finding Apocalypse dead with a playing card. So I'm glad to finally have my favorite Cajun be back in the next episode.
Yes.
And let's get right on to that. Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Renegade Pop Culture, YouTube at Renegade Pop Culture, or Organize Zero. Find us on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You can escape, so do we.
You can find me everywhere at Organized Zero, mainly on Twitch and YouTube. If you like cosplaying and convention going and such like that, you can find me on my Instagram over at Organized Zero. Until next time, we will see you all later. Bye!
Peace.